Welcome. My name is Jody Craner. I'm with the Wisconsin Alzheimer's Institute. Thank you for taking the time out to join us for Riding in the Moment webinar. We're going to begin with a presentation from Dr. Fields, and then we'll open up for discussion and questions. Katie Samuelson, the director of Beaming Inc., is also on the webinar, so she'll assist with questions. Now it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Beth Fields. She is a board-certified occupational therapist, an assistant professor of kinesiology, and a geriatric health services and caregiving researcher at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. She went to Colorado State University and the University of Pittsburgh for occupational therapy and for postdoctoral training. Dr. Fields' research focuses on developing, testing, and implementing person and family-centered assessments and interventions in the hospital, in the home, and community-based settings. She is hugely passionate about finding ways to improve the quality of care and life of aging adults and their family member or friend care partners. With that, I would like to turn the floor over to Dr. Fields.
Thank you, Jody, for that warm welcome, and welcome, Katie. I'm glad that you were able to join. Katie's going to share a case example later in today's presentation. So I'm very excited to be here today to share more about a program that's really near and dear to my heart. Before I get started, I wanted to disclose some financial relationships listed here. So as Jody mentioned, I'm employed at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Our academic community research team recently received some funding from the Baldwin Foundation. And we do receive royalties from Hearts and Horses Therapeutic Horseback Riding Center based on sales of the manuals for the Riding in the Moment program, which I'll share a little bit more about soon. So some learning objectives for today's presentation. By the end, you'll be able to understand the program's conceptual background, purpose, and some example activities. You'll also receive from Jody some of the existing publications and the supporting evidence for the program. You'll hear about some participant benefits, and then also learn more about the available implementation and curriculum manuals, as well as training resources. I'll first begin by sharing some pertinent background information on the research. My decision to become a scholar of dementia care is very personal. My grandmother was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease that quickly progressed to the point where she needed 24-hour assistance. As the disease progressed and her cognitive capacities dwindled, she found herself having less motivation and really lost interest in activities that she had once loved. And unfortunately, I rarely observed any of her formal care providers encourage her to pursue past or even new interests. After about a year in the facility, she fell asleep one night and never woke up. And for a long time, all I could think of was my grandmother and how she spent the last year of her life in a way that I know she would not have wanted to live. Sadly, the more than 5 million Americans with Alzheimer's disease and related dementias may have experienced a similar situation as a result of this COVID-19 pandemic that we're living through. The restrictions that have been implemented to help control the pandemic may have also negatively impacted the behavioral and psychological symptoms that many adults living with dementia face on a daily basis, including sadness, anxiety, confusion, and anger, to name a few. So as restrictions are slowly being lifted in many states, adults living with dementia and their care partners, which I'll refer to as family members or friends, are starting to return to or search for meaningful activities that take place in supportive environments to help improve their quality of life. A framework, one that integrates key occupational, environmental, and quality of life concepts, has really guided our Riding in the Moment work. So even though adults living with dementia experience declines in cognitive and other functional abilities, their innate needs for meaningful occupations or activities remain. So occupation, as an occupational therapist, can be described as activities of daily life that are given meaning by an individual. So several examples of occupations include a pet owner who takes his best friend for a walk every night, or a wife who prepares her husband's favorite pie for dinner. In essence, individuals really derive meaning in their lives through what they do. And further, the ability to do is shaped by their preferences, needs, and desires, habits, and retained capacities, as well as by their surrounding environment. So there's quite a bit of evidence that the social and physical environments can influence quality of life experiences. The social environment is multi-layered and can include interpersonal relationships, social groups, and on a larger scale, cultural systems that can impact an individual's daily life. So physical environmental elements can include the layout of a space, personal items, or adaptive equipment. Paid and unpaid care partners of adults living with dementia generally determine the timeframes, the purposes, and the forms of daily activity situations, which may include television time, exercise groups, or music groups, for example. So the daily experiences of adults living with dementia are presumed to be influenced by the fit for the individual and his or her excuse me, his or her participation in activity situations or those occupations, which the fit is really a function of an environmental press. So to break down, an environmental press really refers to the interaction of any context, physical, social, or interpersonal environmental stimuli that really serves to support or suppress the expression of some form of behavior. So one conceptual practice model that embodies much of the same literature that's informing our writing in the moment work is the lived environment life quality model. And this model, which I'll refer to as the LELQ, serves as a guide for healthcare providers working with adults living with dementia. And most importantly, for those residing in various types of institutional care facilities. So here we can see that environmental press working to elicit various quality of life experiences on the right side. So the LELQ suggests that environmental presses are shaped by interdependent aspects of the person living with dementia, caregiving microsystem stimuli, which may have immediate influences on quality of life, ranging from both occupationally enlivening to occupationally deadening experiences. So as you can see here, when the lived environment circles on the left side of the screen are overlapped to a greater extent than an occupationally enlivening environmental press towards more quality of life experiences can occur. And these presses are more probable in supportive caregiving environments, where attention is being paid to the physical and social environments, but also the person living with dementia. On the other hand, this figure illustrates little overlap of the lived environment domain, consequently generating an occupationally deadening environmental press, thereby suppressing quality of life experiences. And these presses are most likely to occur when environmental elements interact in such a way that the person living with dementia feels unsupported. So to mitigate occupationally deadening experiences and further attempt to comprehensively understand and care for adults living with dementia, research studies have focused on analyzing the many factors that can contribute to a person's quality of life. So back in 1997, a consensus statement was published in the American Journal the Journal of American Medical Association that encouraged environmental approaches to treat adults living with dementia as alternatives to over-reliance on pharmacological approaches, many of which can cause adverse side effects. So environmental approaches are those strategies that really use and emphasize the external physical and social environments that surround a person in which their daily life occupations occur. So one unique environmental approach that is gaining popularity for enhancing quality of life for adults living with dementia are animal-assisted interactions, which can include those that involve the horses and the larger equine environment. So now I'm going to introduce everyone to our program, Riding in the Moment.
Sugar in the morning, sugar in the evening. We introduced her to her horse, Sugar, and she burst into song that second. And she never stopped singing to us. That was her way of communicating to us that she was happy. Oh, go, baby. The horse is a powerful being, and it means something different to every person, but it helps create new memories and build on old ones.
I wish I could see.
And it can be just as simple as just touching the horse and the stories flow.
I almost
My heart is full because we get to help these people rediscover what their passions in life were and bring out their personalities.
Good horsey, bud. Good horse. Yeah.
Yes, she did a nice job. You did do a nice job. So did you, Ray.
I wish I was.
You wish you were a cowboy again, huh? Yeah. Come out here and ride Bud anytime. Let's say bye, Bud.
Bud,
Yep. Tell him
have a
bye.
good day.
Good. Go to the pasture.
Bye-bye.
You know, at a young age, you don't realize how important each little moment is. And, you know, at their age, it's everything.
Like me.
Every day is a touching moment. It changes all the volunteers. It's been life-changing for me.
Say sugar in the morning, sugar in the evening, sugar at supper time. Be my little sugar and love me all the time. Yay!
When you sing to her.
Absolutely love that video. That participant, every time she came and had the opportunity to interact in our Riding the Moment program, she was paired with her horse named Sugar, and she immediately burst into that song every time she saw her horse. So some background information to provide a little bit more context there. Oops. So in 2011, Hearts and Horses, a premier accredited therapeutic horseback riding center located in Colorado, developed the Riding in the Moment program to enhance the quality of life for adults living with dementia. Adapted riding programs are delivered by instructors, not therapists, to help individuals with diverse needs improve physical fitness, cognition, emotional, social, or behavioral skills. So over the course of 4 to 8 weeks, Riding the Moment program participants are provided a safe, supportive, and dynamic environment where they can ride, groom, and pet horses, as well as engage with various staff, volunteers, other care partners, and participants in the horseback riding or therapeutic ranch setting. So the program generally involves a minimum of 4 visits each year, lasting approximately 60 minutes each. And each session consists of about 6 to 12 participants. The Riding the Moment program is designed for adults in the early and middle stages of dementia. Many of the participants often still live at home or with care partners and have accessible, reliable transportation to the therapeutic riding center for each visit. To participate in the program, adults must have a diagnosis of some form of dementia and receive medical clearance from their physician to participate. Care partners are recruited and instructed to contact the center for more information about the program and potential enrollment for their loved one living with some form of dementia. So during this initial contact, which can happen either via phone or email, staff at the therapeutic riding centers provide a general program overview, answer any questions, and really establish the best way to send this enrollment packet to the care partner. Staff also establish a day and time for the care partner and potential participant to come out to the center for an in-person initial assessment before officially starting the program. So the purpose of the in-person assessment is really to determine the potential participants' comfort level around horses, as well as their riding eligibility. So to be eligible to ride during visits, we recommend that the adult must meet all standards of the Professional Association of Therapeutic Horsemanship International. So these standards include that they must be able to maintain a stable sitting position, at least by holding on with one hand. They must be willing to mount a barrel, as you can see on the bottom left-hand corner of the slide, and follow mounted safety rules with at least one-step directions for about 10 to 15 minutes. And then at the conclusion of that in-person assessment, staff will have determined what types of activities the person should be offered during the program. So each visit generally starts with the first 15 minutes focused on greetings and really determining what activities a participant may be interested in that day. So the middle 30 minutes are then dedicated to the actual activities with the horses, which again will depend on the results from that initial in-person assessment. So some example activities, can include the riding, completing farm chores, grooming, feeding horses. And I know Katie later on will probably share some great examples from her program. And then the last 15 minutes, everyone takes time to say goodbye, and staff and volunteers help transition the participants back to their car or bus if they came from an institutional care facility, and then debrief the care partners on how the visit went, noting any accomplishments or setbacks. For the program, we recommend that any center implementing collect some process and outcome data. So program staff are really responsible for tracking the process measures and administering outcome measures to the participants, care partners, pre and post the program. So before beginning and after completing the 4 to 8 week Riding the Moment program, staff will collect process measures such as number of participants that started the session, number of participants that completed the session, number of staff that attended dementia care trainings prior to launching the program, number of press releases on the program, etc. And then to further demonstrate the impact of Riding the Moment on various health and well-being outcomes, we, as the creators and implementers of Riding the Moment, recommend the following 4 listed measures here. So the global health measure is from the PROMIS database, which is supported through the National Institutes on Health. The DEMQual care version is a short form getting at quality of life. We also have a 3 screen fall risk that we ask staff to do before and after the program. And then at the end of the program, we ask that the care partners and any participants to complete an experience survey. So our research work in Colorado demonstrated the safety, acceptability, and proof of concept of this adaptive riding program in improving various quality of life outcomes for adults in the early and middle stages of dementia. So while riding the moment cannot reverse the effects of dementia, the goal of the program is to lessen the effects of sensory deprivation, social withdrawal, and functional decline. Many of those things we've been noticing more so since the onset of this pandemic. I'm a firm believer that we as a society need to find ways to increase the spread of such valuable programs like Riding the Moment. This is especially the case for the growing number of Wisconsin residents living with dementia. So back in 2019, I started to explore various therapeutic riding center websites to learn more about existing programs. And at that time, none of the 15 centers located in Wisconsin regularly offered or advertised any kind of dementia care programming. And you can see here on the slide the different paths. So the Professional Association for Therapeutic Horsemanship International has a member base. So the centers listed on this figure are those that are either PATH accredited centers or members of PATH. So to address this need, I reached out to the Community Academic Aging Research Network, CARN, to share more about my Riding in the Moment work that I did in Colorado with Hearts and Horses. CARN then helped me connect with staff from 2 Wisconsin centers that offered equine assisted services, Beaming Inc. as one, and Three Gates Inc. Beaming is located in Neenah, Wisconsin, and Three Gates is located in Stoughton. So together, these 2 centers jointly identified a need and desire to increase the quality of life of adults living with dementia and their care partners through community-based programming. So then, as a community academic team, we started to discuss ways to increase the spread of Riding in the Moment. We started to connect and establish relationships with key partners located near Beaming and Three Gates, including the Stoughton Area Senior Center and the Aging and Disability Resource Center of Winnebago County. And each community academic partner, excuse me, brought unique skills to our team. So for example, as a researcher, I presented ways to increase reliability and dependability of the proposed research studies focused on Riding the Moment. CARN provided considerations for sustaining and growing the program here in Wisconsin. The directors at Hearts and Horses, Beaming, and Three Gates offered information on their existing programming and business model, equine assisted industry safety standards, as well as training requirements at their respective centers. And the directors from the health and aging organizations supplied information on how to best recruit and engage adults living with dementia and their care partners, as well as the community as a whole. And I also want to be sure that I acknowledge Walt Zerner, who is a huge advocate for not only our program, but for all persons living with dementia. And Katie can share more about his role at Beaming in a little bit. So after establishing partnerships with the therapeutic riding centers, health and aging and dementia networks, we started to meet regularly via Zoom to brainstorm some collaborative activities. Over the course of several months, we started to meet regularly, over the course of several months, team members helped develop and refine the implementation and curriculum manuals for the standardized Riding the Moment program. These manuals are really critical to the long-term success and sustainability of Riding the Moment because they outline the step-by-step procedures and activities that centers and other partner sites can use. Each team member also, excuse me, contributed their diverse skills and perspectives to the development of these manuals. And I'm proud to say that the manuals are now copyrighted and available for purchase online. In addition to developing these manuals, our team has also given both regional and national talks and published papers on Riding the Moment to further increase recognition and marketability of the program. And to further ensure successful implementation of the program at Beaming and Three Gates, we organize online dementia care and manual trainings for all center staff and volunteers to participate in before launch. So here, dementia care specialists from the 2 surrounding aging and disability resource centers shared background information on dementia, as well as recommendations for practice. And my research team here at the UW put together a self-paced online training module and knowledge check for staff to refer to and review the key content that is provided in both the curriculum and implementation manuals. So to best illustrate our team's success implementing Riding the Moment, I now want to turn it over to Katie, the director of Beaming Inc. in Neenah, and she can share a case example. Oh, Katie, we can't hear you.
Okay, I'm back. Can everyone hear me? Yes?
Yes.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I am going to give you a little example about our program, Riding in the Moment, here at Beaming Inc. Rick and his wife, Tracy, had been involved in our organization and had came out to our cafes and also became involved in our equine assisted services here prior to Riding in the Moment starting. So Rick was a rancher many, many years ago in his younger life. They had participated for about 2 years prior to us bringing Riding in the Moment here. And it was very, very wonderful to be able to provide the service as well to Tracy. So improving that quality of life for the caregiver became so important. To see Tracy not be just caring for Rick in the normal way and being the caregiver, for her to be a part of the program. He always enjoyed his time here. He always felt comfortable. And in this setting, for years, as him being a rancher, this is his place where he has so much calmness, where there's no trouble for him to just, walk down the barn aisle and feel comfortable. And he knows how to do all the different tasks, the bucking of a bale, carrying a saddle, picking out a horse's foot. It's incredible to see his muscle memory as a rider. As his condition progressed, our staff always will notate and always, keep track of the changes that we've seen in Rick in the last 2 years, which through our Riding in the Moment manual, it's been a lot easier to take and keep track of things because, the program is really set up to be fail-proof. And with us working with Fox Valley Memory Project and doing our cafes, we have also designed different areas where we can take all of our different participants and have them do different items each week that they would come. So everything that we do, like I said before, is fail-proof tasks. And Rick's abilities and behaviors during those sessions really seemed to improve and carry over. They were noted through his wife, they were noted through his family. Some of those notable changes this last fall was that his language, the aphasia that he was having, his language disorder caused by the damage to the brain, which controls his speech and his comprehension. There was an improvement in that in the fall. And that was really notated by his wife, Tracy, but even as volunteers, he would struggle, some of the times, but it did get much better. He would talk a lot more here at our center, and he would also get in a conversational aspect. He would include himself and even intrigue in asking questions. Sometimes the questions were more repetitive, but it was just wonderful to see that he really understood what was being said here at the farm. When we would talk about the saddle or grab the saddle pad, you didn't have to go and hand it to Rick. Rick would know to go and grab the saddle pad. The biggest joy that I will remember, like I said earlier, was that Tracy was able to ride, and to see his face as they were able to ride together, the joy that finally she had a passion and something that he loved. Rick's gait, another thing that we always, kept track of. We have them ride on our equicizer first prior to getting on. But even his gait, sometimes he had some trouble with his balance and getting up on the 3 steps to get on the equicizer. All of that had improved, from him becoming or from him being at the program more often and riding. He did come back this last spring, and we, again, noticed that he came back, from the long winter, and those 2 steps now were a little bit harder for him to get on. But, he's been coming each week again, so it's getting better. Some of the things that he does have problems with is like the small motor skill type items. And we do different tasks like taking a rope and putting fruits and vegetables on the rope, having them make like tree kebabs for the horses. So that's a great way for him to improve his motor skills. And then he feeds all of those treats to the horses. Processing a few things sometimes, again, he'll struggle with tying the latigo knot. All of our cinches will have the buckle in them, and he last year could do it. This spring he came back, and we noticed a little difference. Tracy and all of us, have noted that he has a decreased stress levels at the farm. When he gets here, he's not anxious. He's just relaxed, and he's very relaxed after the session. So it's nice to be able to monitor that through our writing in the moment paperwork, talking with our key volunteers. One of the things that works for us as well is that we have a lot of our volunteers. Obviously, we train them quite extensively prior, but there are a lot of return volunteers. So keeping track of good data is very important for the program and for us. So we know when people are coming in, what they're able to do, how we're going to take and proceed through the day to make everything work out in a positive manner and have them go out with the best outcomes. This 2 weekends ago, we did have another cafe, and I was worried about attendance because we have COVID again in a few of our memory care centers, but we had 13 new people come through the doors, and it was great. So it was just a wonderful experience. Rick did just recently move last week to a memory care center, but what's so wonderful about this program is that Tracy knows that her barn family is here for her. And I get a little teary-eyed because she's so important to us, but to see her and the other wives together, and they, just the joy from the program. So it's just wonderful to see them, do things together, be able to come out to the barn. Rick's looking forward to coming again this next week, Thursday. And, just the experience of, for me personally, to be in the program and to see all these people just so happy, it just brings me teary-eyed, of course. You can hear and see my face, but, everyone noting the joy of it, the experience that they're getting from it. The volunteers, a lot of the young teens, that participate in the summer, that, they've lost grandparents and loved ones during the COVID. And, like this last week, Rick was joking around. He's like, I think I got ripped off. He said to me, he said, I only got to brush ponies this week. I didn't get to brush big horses. And, so the teens are like laughing with him. So just the experience of being involved in this and setting it up again, so it's fail proof for our community, and to have everybody working so hard and diligently at making it be a success really exemplifies our Wisconsin Proud program, Riding in the Moment. So thank you for, having me be a part of the webinar today. And does anyone have any questions for me? Or Beth, do you have any questions? Can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah. Thanks, Katie. That was a great picture of like Rick's experience at Beaming. I think like one thing that could be helpful for attendees on the webinar to hear more about are some of the like highs and lows of like implementing this program, especially during a pandemic, and what strategies Beaming has found most helpful in making sure that this program is a success, and it has been a success.
So I think the biggest thing is to really involve your volunteers and to be consistent in their training. That was like one of the big things that I found was really valued. We are fortunate to have UWO School of Nursing involved in our very first cafe, and that took place in November of 2019. Walter Renner Family Friendly Dementia Fund had paid for Beaming Incorporated to try this very first one-of-a-kind day with Fox Valley Memory Project, and they put the call out to all of the their contacts and that collaboration in the donor's eyes also is important, to see us using good money in good ways, working together with other nonprofits. So we put that together that day. And, you always want to do the very best you can. So, the advertising, I was worried that there wasn't going to be enough people again for that amount of advertising as our nonprofit could afford. And, it was the very first time. I wanted to build it fail proofed, and I didn't want to make it be too complicated. So we even had like maps to where each station was. Things I messed up on. I didn't say how long they had to stay at the station. So of course, when they could be in the arena, we had 6 benches out there by the round pen area where we did horses' heart rates. And then we had 3 benches where they could groom. Well, there was like 15 people here, and it wasn't just their caregiver, it was their granddaughter and, the son and the daughter-in-law. And, so there's a lot of people that came. So kind of, I think a big part was to try to kind of like nail down numbers, because even like in the arts and crafts area, we had taken Polaroid pictures of people with their horses, and they were making picture frames and decorating them in our art area. We didn't have enough, material, because we didn't really know for sure how many people were coming. So that RSVP has been being used a lot since then. And then, tracking data for our side, for our organization, with their email, and keeping track of them and making phone calls. A real lot of administrative side. One of our participants is 92 years old, and all winter long, I have contacted her to make sure and see how he was doing. He's a gentleman that just loves being out at the farm, and they would always drive to the park every single day, go drive to the park. Well, once they learned about riding in the moment and they met us all from Beaming, they would drive out to the farm and they would just come through the barn. And I really thought that was great for a while, until, one day I was concerned that he was a little bit stumbly when he came in, and here she was out there alone with him with the walker. And I was like, whoa, they're in the barn and there was no volunteers here. It was just like an odd time. So, I mean, those are a few concerning things, but our place is very public, but I just, didn't know they were out there. So that was, one thing that happened. Keeping them agile and making sure that they can get back on the equicizer or barrel prior to riding is important. We've had a gentleman that forgot to sit in the seat of the saddle. So that had happened to us one time and one time only. I made sure it would never ever happen again, because it was quite scary. He had gotten on the horse and he had his left hand on the horn and his right hand on the cantle, the back part of the saddle. And instead of sitting into the saddle, George decided to sit like on the horse's rump. And I mean, our horses are as quiet as they are. And then the horse handler said, can you scooch forward? So George's body is trying to like jump forward, and his feet are kicking the horse in the stifle, which is basically where the bucking strap goes. So that was something that happened. And I learned a big lesson from that, was that, sometimes I need to remind the rider where their body goes into the saddle. So that was a very educational day, or heart thumping, as you can say. And we did just pull George off the horse from the backside, but just not normal stuff, that we get with our other riders from our Saddle Up program for our youth and children with disabilities. In general, they hop right in the saddle. So, the few little things like that. We've been very diligent and working. Again, we're blessed to have our college here. We've done a barn safety setup, so we know no trip hazards. We remove rugs that are nice to have when we have muddy feet on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but Thursday morning the rugs get removed from the facilities, so there's no trip hazards that way. We have a couple little areas where the horses have pawed on some rubber mats. Our whole barn aisle is rubber, but still now there's like a little divot. So we've taken and put red or yellow safety tape in those areas. Our driveway, even, as far as people driving in and out, we're real cautious about, timing, having everybody, our volunteers, making sure that they get here plenty ahead of time, so that when our families get here, we're ready for them. When their car door opens, we have a volunteer waiting for them to make it be a successful, for them to come. They're sitting in the cars, as I say, with some of our participants are quite old. Their legs kind of get a little numb. I always say when they get off the horses too, they get horsey legs, horsey legs. So we always kind of have them wiggle once they get off, and not just step down. We do have a ramp here and a lift system. We have one rider that gets on with the lift system. We have one rider that gets up from the ramp, and we have our other, 4 riders that get on from the ground off the 3-stepper. And then their care partners most of them get up off the 3-step as well. But just having enough staff on site to track the data that is needed for the program's research is important. And sometimes I would screw up, I'll be honest. I probably had Dr. Beth's team scratching their head a few times because I would put the initials because the HIPAA. And then I would write CT, or caregiver, or I would, write the wrong notes. So that was a learning curve for me. We have that much improved now, so it's much easier for me to handle. But too, volunteers filling out stuff kind of the same way I did, and writing it with our participant, and I can't read something, like a note. And so we're learning, and it's only can get better. And it's really changing people's lives here in our Fox cities. I mean, the feedback that we're getting is incredible. Tracy wanted me to tell everyone, this is the only place that Rick ever feels normal. I had talked to her this morning because, like I said, I just kind of check in and make sure that they're doing okay. And she's like, she couldn't make it to the webinar today, but she just wanted everybody to know riding in the moment in the barn is that one place where Rick can just be normal. It's that new life that he's living in, she calls it, says the word in real loudly. Out here at the farm, he is in his element. It's a great place for him to be. So any other questions? Did I hit what you would like?
Yeah, that was great, Katie. Well, I just have a few more slides and then we'll turn it over to the audience to see if there's any additional questions. So with that successful case example that Katie shared, you might be wondering where our community academic team is headed next. So to date, the current literature on riding in the moment is largely limited to non-experimental and qualitative or subjective type research. So there really remains a critical need to empirically quantify the effects of riding in the moment on quality of life outcomes for persons living with some form of dementia. And our rationale for this experimental type research is that without established efficacy of the program, this promising intervention for a growing vulnerable population will remain largely unsupported by the broader human-animal interaction scientific community. So to address this gap, our team just submitted a grant to the Human Animal Bond Research Institute, HABRI, for support to conduct a pilot study to quantify the preliminary efficacy of riding the moment for persons living with dementia. And it's currently under review with a potential start date this fall. So fingers crossed. So before the presentation ends today, I want to share some of the lessons our team has learned over the years from the Riding the Moment research, in addition to Katie's practical experiences. So what we've learned is that it's critical to see not only the potential and need of the person living with dementia, but also those environmental influences, in particular, the social influences of activity situations like riding the moment, which is really vital for understanding associated quality of life experiences. We anticipate that our work may guide enhancements to program planning and implementation that fosters unique opportunities to really maximize function and optimal well-being for those living with dementia and their care partners here in Wisconsin. And going back to my grandmother's story, She owned a horse throughout much of her child and adulthood and would have dearly loved to participate in a Riding the Moment program if it had been available. So I just wanted to throw a picture of her up here on the slide because I know that she's looking down and is very pleased that others living with dementia are benefiting from such a unique program. Okay, so now that I'm like done getting emotional about my grandmother, like every time it gets me. With that, I want to save time for any questions about the research, and Katie's happy to answer any questions about how the implementation has looked at Beaming.
Thank you very much. That was just a phenomenal overview and actually diving down into some of the details of the program. Very exciting and inspiring. If you maybe want to bring down your slides now, we can get everybody up and maybe the dialogue a little bit more interactive. There is one question in the chat at this point, and there it says, are the Aging and Disability Resource Centers helping to promote the program? And if so, how?
Yes, on our end they are. Plus, whenever we do an event, they put it in their newsletter, which is great. They have our links to our event, to our Facebook page, to, you know, we put the ad into Winnebago County. So they're very helpful here in our county level.
Scott, do you have a question? Feel free to unmute.
Hi, thanks. I'm a dementia care specialist in central Wisconsin. I was just curious, you know, some of the sharing that you did with the people in the programs have been people that have had connections to horses in their lifetime. I'm wondering about, you know, selling this to other people that have had no connections to, you know, being on the farm or any connections to the larger animals. And if you guys would have any insight as far as what you've seen currently, and maybe this is part of the research that you're looking to do moving forward.
Yeah, great question, Scott. So related to the research end, with our grant that's under review right now, we are hoping to compare the Riding the Moment program to a zoo visit to really get at whether or not is it the horse and the equine environment that is improving the quality of life outcomes, or is it just interactions in an outdoor environment with animals? We might see favorable outcomes from both groups in that proposal, or we might see more favorable outcomes for Riding the Moment. So we haven't been able to yet tease apart those distinctions, but I will say a lot of the human animal interaction literature has shown the positive benefits of being with a horse and in a natural environment on various health and well-being outcomes. So our program is really directed by that foundational literature. Katie, do you have anything else to share?
Yeah. I can tell you an experience that I had on Monday. So I visited St. Paul Elder Care in Kaukauna, Wisconsin, and they have a dog that's at their facility. And I probably visited with 80 to 90 residents, and Sparkles actually rode on an elevator for the first time in her life. She did good on the way up, was a little fearful on the way down, but it worked out quite well. And I can tell you right now, probably 60% of the people wanted to keep Sparkles and were not as interested in the dog anymore. Dog was seemed a little upset, but it was really great. You know, just a lot of the gentlemen too that I've met through the 2 years here of working with this type clients, they just like the nature side of it. They like being out at the farm. And even, you know, even the women, but a lot of the men just like being out here at the farm, walking around the property and, you know, just sightseeing and being out in that country life. I don't think it has a lot to do with just the horse. I think it's nature based as well. We do a lot of bird watching, a bird identification. I kind of starve the birds for a couple of days before we're having an event for 2 days usually. And, you know, we have binoculars, we have bird sheets, we have really nice furniture for them to sit in, and they want to be out there, you know, just outside doing something and relaxing and have some peace and tranquility. And that's a lot of it too.
Yeah, and Scott, to get at your the the other aspect of your question related to, fit, if someone doesn't have horse experience or background. It isn't a requirement for the eligibility of the program. Through various activities, we try to match whatever activities to the person's functional capacities and interests and preferences. So that's why it's really important during that initial in-person assessment that we do with each participant before they actually start the program, is to really gather like what do they prefer to do when they're at Beaming Inc. Is it bird watching? Is it actually trying to get up on the horse and have support and ride for 15 minutes? Is it, etc. So I will say that this is a very tailored and person-centered program.
So probably one question on many folks' mind is the cost associated for Beaming Inc. and for the participant. What kind of costs are involved?
Beaming at this point is not charging anyone for any services as long as they qualify for the program and they participate in the 6 to 8 weeks. We have never charged for this type work for our cafes. Mr. Zerenner did donate some money to the organization on behalf of his wife's foundation. We have done fundraising to make sure that our organization is financially stable. But the biggest thing for us is that we want to see this program continue. We want to make sure that we can deliver it in a positive manner, improving the quality of life for loved ones with Alzheimer and dementia. And we also want to make sure that everyone else can operate it like we do and keep it sustainable. So at this point, we are not charging, and I don't feel that we will be in the future either. We've been doing it through fundraising.
And to add to that, so Hearts and Horses, the center that established the program in Colorado, they too have had very high success in fundraising and also receiving some local based grants for their center to provide scholarships to various participants in their programs. But some other ideas that our team has come up with as centers, begin to explore implementing Ride in the Moment here in Wisconsin in particular, possibly getting Ride in the Moment reimbursed through the IRIS program, for example. And then also continuing some of the research efforts at various centers. I'd love to do a multi-site study at some point where we write that into grant proposals that I submit here at UW-Madison with my research team to help cover the participant costs at centers moving forward as well. So those are a few of the mechanisms. For those centers that can't afford, the implementation manual actually has some range, cost range for various types of, so like cost range for in-person initial assessment and the cost range for a 4, 6, and 8 week program, so that centers know like the breakdown. And these, the ranges were established by our team in Colorado, or with our team members in Colorado and here in Wisconsin. So we think that will hopefully help other centers that are interested in Ride in the Moment move forward too.
Excellent, thank you. There are a couple more questions in the chat. Barbara asks, positive benefits, health and well-being for individuals participating. Is there a future consideration to implement diversity and inclusion in program?
Yes. So we have our team, we have quite a few team members. So we initially started working together in 2019, but our team continues to grow each year, and we're strategic with that, with our team growing. So we have representation from the Wisconsin Alzheimer's Institute, which I know Stephanie is on here, so it's great to see her. And then we also have here the ADRC at Madison, the Alzheimer's Disease Resource Center. And both of those types of organizations have various strategies for recognizing diversity and providing researchers and community partners ways to thoughtfully recruit and market programs like Ride in the Moment so that it's reaching more populations.
We also have United Way that's been helping us to market some things as well. So the word is getting out there with, those forms of uh, passing it along.
Excellent. Barbara, did you have any follow-up questions on that? Okay, if not, then Tammy has a question. Barbara, you said, I'm interested. Did you want to mic and mute and indicate?
Okay, thank you very much. I was late joining because I had another commitment, but I'm certainly interested. I was formerly with the Alzheimer's and Dementia Alliance of Wisconsin, and I'm definitely interested in diversity and inclusion and seeing how we can really market and present this program to other communities. So I wanted to make sure that I leave my contact information so that we could have further discussion.
Oh, that would be great. Thanks, Barbara. Yeah, we'd love to set up a meeting and have you come to one of our larger team meetings to share more about your role and potential partnership. Yeah, thanks for putting if you don't mind putting your information in the chat, that would be great so I can follow up with you.
Thank you, Barbara. And then Tammy asked, what would be the first steps for her to refer a family to the program?
So for us at Beaming, we just have people email us as our very first step. Of course, if they email us at inkbeaming@gmail.com, we then take and send them the proper paperwork for their enrollment, which is basically about them. We have a non-riding form that we've been using right now for some people come in and say they don't want to ride at all. So we don't want to scare them away by handing them a riding form right away. We found that kind of helped out too. And then it just gives a profile on them and specifically their past interactions with horses, animals, and farms. We do take and always journal a little bit about their personal family, horsemanship type stuff. We then schedule a meeting. It might be just on the phone, get to know them a little bit more, have them come out, tour our farm, and we invite them to a cafe if maybe they want to wait a while. Sometimes you hear that and you say, well, if you want to give it a free try, you can come out to our cafe. So we do those about 4 times a year. That helps as well, getting the ball rolling. Like I said, this last time we had quite a few that have shown interest and we'll be starting here in the month of June. So that's the best way to start, or just give us a jingle.
So Katie, would you be able to put that email address in the chat? And then do you actually have like a document that I could put along with the other resources on the website for folks?
It is actually right in our riding in the manual. It's right in the manual.
Is that when they have to purchase?
So
I can take and I will put it in there. I will get it in there.
Okay, so, thanks.
Katie, I can help get the manuals are pretty extensive in length. So yeah, Katie, if you want help just pulling like that section of the manual, I can do that.
Yeah, my office controller's out, so putting it in right now is a little
okay. All right, thank you. And Stephanie, did you have a question or a comment to make? Oh, I see it's, there's a message in the chat. She's saying, Beth, wonderful, inspiring presentation. She's having to exit actually for a meeting at this time. So
thanks for tuning in, Stephanie. And I do want to say too, because Katie centers in Neenah, and our hope is to launch at 3 Gates this fall or early next spring in Stoughton, so like Dane County area. So we will hopefully be recruiting participants through ADRCs and AAAs in the surrounding Madison area in the coming months.
So what about, there's someone sitting here, because I know we have a lot of the different like dementia care specialists and other ADRC folks on the line from all parts of the state. They're sitting in an area, they know that they may have a provider that might be willing to do this program. How would they get connected, or what would be the steps to kind of do a discussion about that?
So Jody, to make sure I'm following the question, the steps for connecting their consumers to us at like the established centers or centers that are in their counties?
To become maybe one of the research centers for this
Oh.
program, or to develop a program, maybe not necessarily the researcher. Say like if they purchase the online manual, but they have questions, or they want to become a study site, they know someone that in their county that might be a good place to do a study.
Yeah, great question. So as of right now, we haven't added that to the manuals. So the manuals were really designed for therapeutic riding center leadership to take the program and launch. So if there are interested leadership that are within ADRCs or AAAs that are close by a therapeutic riding center that they know of. So thinking back to that map on one of the slides with the 15 centers spread out across our state. I know our team here, CARN, that we work with, the Community Academic Aging Research Network, has been really helpful in partnering the therapeutic riding centers with the located ADRCs or AAAs. So I think if someone is interested, I would suggest shooting me an email, and then I can bring it back to our team. Shannon Myers is actually the main research associate that we work with at CARN, and she can help facilitate a conversation between like an ADRC dementia care specialist and one of the local therapeutic riding centers, because there are quite a few throughout the state, and several have reached out to me in the last year now that they're starting to relaunch their programming, now that COVID restrictions are getting or are going away, and they're able to offer it to aging adults that are interested in launching the program. They just need the participants. So I know that there's interest, like for example, healing, one of the centers is Horsepower Healing Center, which is out in between Madison and Milwaukee. And they recently reached out to me and are interested. So if there's, an ADRC in one of those counties, that might be a good match to get this program going.
So it'd have to be through one of these therapeutic 15 centers that you already referenced, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
For safety, I would really advise that you
Yeah.
stay a center, and it's not just done out of a facility where someone's maybe a horse trainer and they think they can do this for safety's sakes for the consumer. We actually are having our memory cafe on Monday, June 20th at 10:30 a.m. Anyone that's interested in attending is more than welcome to attend. And our program again kicks off on June 2nd. At 10:30 in the morning. We will be meeting with all of our clients here for the next, I think it's like 9 weeks after that. So anyone's more than welcome to come to our facility and see what we do live and watch. We've had Batter Philanthropies out here during a session and seen it, firsthand. We had done some of our cafes via Zoom with Fox Valley Memory Project, and that was really, really nice. And during the pandemic, we did a lot of riding via Zoom so that families with different disabilities and our partners that were involved with our organization prior to Riding in the Moment, could see the facility and see us in action. But everyone is welcome to join us on Monday, June 20th at 10:30 a.m. if they're interested.
Thank you very much for that. And I guess that prompted one question I have is, I guess there's a question here. It says, any voiced interest in rides in the reins? Comes from Rob.
It's another PATH center, Beth.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
So Rob, who's in Dodge County, wanted to know if Rides in the Reins have ever voiced interest in doing this.
They have not been one of the centers that has reached out to me. However, I will say, like, when we started our marketing in 2019, we have experienced a little setback. Katie does a wonderful job in Winnebago County, but the other counties, we've just had a setback because of COVID and, lack of vaccines, and a lot of these nonprofit therapeutic riding centers having to shut down their services for safety purposes. So we're now just getting going again. Katie's doing a wonderful job, presenting to a variety of audiences. My team is going to a couple regional conferences. So we hope to get the word out more so additional centers can learn about our program and consider implementing it. So yeah, Rob, if you have connections with Rides and Reins and you think that they would be interested, feel free to either connect us via email or share my contact information with them directly.
And one thing too, I want to say congratulations, Beth and team. We are going to be presenting at PATH International this fall, so our nation can hear about what we're doing here, right here in Wisconsin. So congratulations on putting in that extra effort and getting us accepted into that too.
Excellent, excellent. And I'm going to put a link at the end here for an evaluation, but also giving you a link to the website where the WDRN website where you can have access to Beth's PowerPoint as well as the publications that she has, and then the recording once it's downloaded and stuff, it'll also be there. So you'll have access to that information. I guess I have one additional question because it sounds like this program is cyclical. It comes up at certain times a year and there's a gap in time. Has there ever been thought about a continuation, especially because we know for many folks living with dementia, it's a progressive disease and the interruptions may create some additional kind of challenges?
Yeah, that's a great question, Jody, and one that we're definitely interested in exploring in future research studies. We haven't yet, primarily just because of Wisconsin weather, and many of the centers in Colorado and here in Wisconsin do not have a facility that would allow for Ride in the Moment to be offered safely, just with like extreme temperatures and just getting to and from the centers, because a lot of these centers are in the country on back roads. So thinking about that. However, I do think that there would be an opportunity, late, because the program's primarily offered late spring, summer, fall, like over the winter time, to have a Zoom meeting to continue to talk about the experiences that they had and reminisce about what they did at Beaming, for example, and then maybe have Katie do some live streaming. And I know she's already done this,
Yep.
Where she will actually go into the barn, show the Zoom attendees the horses to kind of refresh their memories. So I think that there is opportunity to continue it as a program. We just haven't explored the outcomes of that hybrid.
And I will
Excellent.
we in December always have a Santa event, and it takes a village sometimes to get some people out here. Like she was saying, we had the worst storm ever this last year, but they all came and they came to see Santa. And then we did have a special event that we did in February as well for them, and they all came. So that was nice, but no riding. We just had them come and visit the horses, check out the farm, get back together. A lot of it is that socialization piece for those caretakers or caregivers, caregivers, to make sure that they're okay, because part of the disease is the care. And I truly feel so strongly that the quality of life that we're improving for them too. This is hard for them to take and take care of everyone. It's hard, and they don't want their loved one to go to a memory care center. They want to keep them at home as long as they can. So that supportive nature at the farms. So.
Excellent. And I think one of the things that the program showcasing in your presentation kind of hit on today is you start something, but you observe and you figure out how can you add to it and all the different silver linings and all the different connections and how you can continue to expand. And in a program like there, I'm guessing the volunteers walk away feeling good about it, the care partners, the staff, that everybody comes to this and walks away with something really good, right?
Correct. And
100%.
I'm never afraid to, email Beth and be like, well, this happened today, so write this down because I don't want it to happen at someplace else. Just the care that we all put into it and all the work that we put into it for so long to make it be perfect. Anytime there's a little bubble bump in the road, I'm like, Beth, this, or, all the good things I love to share too on Facebook and on our social media platforms. But, I just really want to see it work for other centers here in the United States and of course in Wisconsin, and make more people aware of the hard work that the team has put into it to this point.
Yeah, I just to like echo that and provide like some more examples. So how I actually got started with this program, I was completing my PhD at Colorado and I just needed a mental break, and I grew up with horses. So I started volunteering at Hearts and Horses, not even realizing that they had this Riding in the Moment program. And after the very first session of that program, it was just so impactful to see how much of a difference it made on the participants. So I would go back with them to the long-term care facility after, and their day just looked so different after being at the therapeutic riding center for an hour in comparison to the days when they didn't come. So yeah, I think it has an impact not only on volunteers, but also the families that are able to participate in the program with them. So many of the care partners actually become volunteers themselves so that they can be sidewalkers while their dad or husband is riding the horse, as an example. And then also, as Katie mentioned earlier, the students at Oshkosh, and I know the students here at Madison, are really getting dementia care training experience that they aren't necessarily able to do a deep dive in their curriculum. So I think it's a win-win on many levels. Oh, Jody, you're muted.
Sorry, I was multitasking. I did put in the chat just, we have an evaluation. If everybody wants to help do that, that'd be great. And then where the PowerPoints and stuff would be. But I wanted to, because I know some people have to drop off, I didn't want to close down questions. So are there additional questions? Either raise your hand or put it in the chat. The discussion has been really good in my book here. I very much have been very enjoying it. And I do have, by the way, Barbara's information for you.
Great, thank you so much. And I saved the chat too, so if others put their contact information to learn more, think about ways to partner, I'll be sure to follow up with individuals.
Thank you, Beth. My phone is acting as my computer today. That's why I was a couple minutes late.
Yeah, no worries.
So are there any additional questions or comments? If not, I really want to truly thank both Dr. Fields and Katie for just a very enlightening and inspiring presentation and discussion today. Thank you. I love this program. It's just brings warmth to my heart to see the number of people it's touching and the good it's doing. So thank you for doing that. And I hope the study allows us to spread this to other places too.
Thanks, Jody. We appreciate the opportunity to share more about the program.
Thank you very much for having us.